What do you hope the next generation of Final Girls learn from you and your performance in the character of Sienna?
Oh gosh, that's a wonderful question.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Lauren, I freaking love you. You are the best.
Thank you so much. I love your view. I'm so jealous right
Thank you
now.
very much. It's a beautiful day here in Chicago.
Yes, I'm so
Um,
jealous.
Seriously, I love these movies so much, and I always tell people I do junkets every day, and you can't always tell people you love their movies. Sometimes you just go, "Hey, that's a movie. It got made." But seriously, I love this. So seriously, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. I'm so psyched to
Of
be here.
course, I'm going to jump into this. I've seen a lot of interviews where you've been asked about lessons that you have learned from past Final Girls, but I would love to look forward. What do you hope the next generation of Final Girls learn from you and your performance in the character of Sienna?
Oh gosh, that's a wonderful question. I think I want Final Girls to continue with what they've always done, and that's be badasses, but I'm curious to know the mental state of Final Girls. I'm curious to know, especially after the aftermath of whatever the horrific events they have to go through. I want to see more of how that's explored and how the human psyche reacts to something so horrific. So I'm curious to see different actresses and Final Girls approach to that, because that's what I find the most interesting, just the human condition and how we react to such grave circumstances.
For sure. I'm going to butcher the name, but have you read the book? What the hell is it called? I think it's like Final Girls Support Group or something like that. And it's basically the idea of like, it's like an AA group, but all of the women in the group are the iconic Final Girls from like Halloween and Scream and Texas Chainsaw. It's so good.
Yes, I've heard of this. I haven't read it, but I will write it down so I can remember to
Well,
read it.
now, yeah, I think you need to be. If they do a sequel, you need to be a part of it.
Oh,
I'm sort of curious. I want to talk about the actors in the series who obviously don't live into the end. Do you have many conversations with your co-stars about their death days? Like, is there any obligation on your part to be like an emotional support Final Girl, or do you kind of just let them handle it on their own?
I'm always there for them. I'm always, and I usually ask them questions like, "How are you feeling? Do you need anything?" But that's not just me. That's every crew member on set. Every crew member really tries to be there for them, make sure that they're comfortable on the day because it's such a vulnerable state. But there haven't been many instances where they've needed to reach out. They're just professionals, and not that if they needed to reach out, they wouldn't be professional because it's just a harrowing experience. Either way, it would have made sense. But they're usually just ready and psyched to die, if that makes sense.
I
Like,
gotta tell you, people look at me strangely when I say this, but I have always said that I would love to die in a horror movie. I feel like that would be the most fun thing.
as long as it's a cool death, of
That's
course.
it. That's it.
Right?
It's got to be a really cool. It's got to be a very cool death. Have you ever gone to visit a death scene or a set that you're not a part of, just to be there and see the moment be filmed?
Absolutely. It happened multiple times on Terrifier 2 and Terrifier 3. Like for Terrifier 2, I even was like helping paint sets because I just wanted to be there and like help them. But for Terrifier 3, the actor who plays Sienna's father, who's amazing. I can't wait for people to discover him. I wanted to be there to witness that. So even though I didn't have a scene with him that day, I just wanted to watch that scene because it was so beautifully written and I really love this actor.
That's cool. You talk about like the great death scenes. By definition of a final girl, you live to fight another day. And I know that you came really close to losing that fight in part two. But in a fun hypothetical, if you were going to have a true and final death scene at the hands of Art the Clown, how would you want to go?
The first thing that came to mind, and I don't know why, was like being fed fingers. I don't know why that came to mind, but it's so gross and horrific. And I think I'd want it to play on Sienna's psyche. Definitely. I think a lot of her journey in the Terrifier franchise is where she's at mentally. So I'd like tricks being played on her. I'd like her to maybe even go a little crazy before her death. And then when it finally happens, it's just maybe all of her limbs get ripped apart. I don't know. Something
You've been
crazy.
hanging out with Damien a lot. I can tell it.
We've been, yes, we DM each other about archaic torture methods. I don't know why we do this, but I
Love
mean,
that. That feels healthy, to be honest with you.
it is. It's cathartic. It's you do that.
Speaking of healthy and cathartic, I had the pleasure of speaking with David yesterday about his relationship with other actors on set, because I've always heard, I've interviewed actors who've played monsters and villains, and a lot of them say that they keep their distance from other actors on set. And he said that's just not really the case with you guys, that he's around and he's hanging out and he's friendly. I am sort of curious, in the spirit of that, what is the funniest, most surreal conversation or moment or experience you've shared with David while he was in full Art the Clown makeup?
I don't know if I can think of a moment, but it's funny because I'm visualizing him right now, especially in Terrifier 2, because he was so cold. We were all so cold on that set. He was covered in blood, and because his nose was running, they put Q-tips up his nostrils. So imagine Art the Clown covered in blood and just Q-tips up his nostrils, and we're just like eating breakfast and having a conversation about just life. And it took me, like, I had to take a step back. I just started cracking up. I took a step back and looked at this guy. I was like, what are we doing right now? Like, what are we doing with our lives? And why am I talking to this deranged looking clown? And Dave just sounds like a normal, fun loving guy, like when he talks. And it's also really funny when he still has those dentures in, like he has a bit of a lisp, so you can't take him seriously. So I can't think of a specific moment, but there are so many moments where we're just having a normal conversation where I look at him like, oh, I'm talking to Art the Clown right now, and he looks silly.
The Q-tips is a pretty great. My mind was blown when he told me that he used to be in elementary school education. Like the idea that there's someone out there whose elementary school student teacher was Art the Clown, and I think that is the greatest thing ever.
His students are somewhere watching him right now.
Like, I think that's amazing. You mentioned Terrifier 2. I need you to take me back to a very specific moment on set. I would love for you to take me back to 2, when you're in the costume shop with Art the Clown and he puts on the flower glasses. Like, do you remember the first time you saw him do that?
I'll be honest with you. The first time I saw him do that was on screen. Because neither one of us could look at each other. And I think it was because we were on set for a very long time that day. So we would take naps in between when we weren't needed. Like, I just went downstairs and fell asleep on the couch. I think there's a picture of me just sleeping on the couch in costume circulating. But I knew that he was improvising. I feel like I could hear from a distance the giggling, because he did a lot of improv in that moment. And a lot of it didn't even make it in the final cut, unfortunately. Maybe Damien will release it one day, but the first time I saw it was like in theaters, and I was cracking up. I had the same reaction that everybody else did. It was just so funny. The editing was brilliant comedy. I was so impressed with these guys. It was so hilarious.
Don't know why I find it so funny, but just like seeing the image of it genuinely still makes me laugh. Just like whenever I saw it in theaters for the first time. Both Damien and David told me yesterday that they know what the ending to this story is. They both know how the Terrifier saga is going to come to an end. Have they shared the ending with you at all? Do you even want to know?
Yes, so I do know the bare minimum of what's supposed to happen. Damien told me when he cast me in Terrifier 2 what his plans were with this character. And he has asked me in the, like, you know, what other details I want to know, because different from Dave, he likes to know every detail because I think Art the Clown has a plan. Whereas Sienna's a bit different in that what's so unique and fun about her is she's coming to realizations with audience members. So she is kind of a bit of a bystander in her own right. Like, she's trying to figure it out as we are, as the audience. So whenever Damien tries to tell me more details, I'm like, I feel like I shouldn't know this. So let's just, you can tell me the end and that's fine, but let me discover it so it can feel truthful in the moment.
I respect that. He did tell me he knows what the last shot is going to be, and that kind of blows my mind. But I'm also with you. If he offered to tell me, I would tell him no, because I want to find out organically. They're pulling you. I'm going to cut you loose on this. One sort of recent tradition, I feel like, of Final Girls that we've seen lately is the Legacy sequel. It's actresses coming back down the road to play these characters maybe decades later. Would you be interested in seeing Sienna in her 60s or 70s taking on Art the Clown?
Absolutely. I don't know how tired I'm going to be by that point. I've always considered myself someone who will never retire from this career. I hope I'm blessed in that I don't have to. But if given the opportunity, I want to see a more seasoned final girl be badass because I think there's no age to being a badass. So I would love to do it.
Well, I would love to watch you do it. I think you're awesome, and seriously, I was raised on these kind of movies, so this is very much my thing. I follow you on Instagram. You're fantastic, and I know you have a busy day, so I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Jake. You were fantastic. I really appreciate it.
All right, I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.